everybody. Today I'm bringing you a layout with that photo of a special dish that one of my friends makes. And I'm using up some more Amy Tangerine paper in an effort to use up paper before I get my new collections in. And I want to also use that wood circle that you just saw. I have one piece left of that, and that was going on this layout if it was the last thing I did. So what I'm doing here is I have that yellow background paper, and then I have this border paper here, and I had cut a border off of this already, so I was just and used it on another layout. So I was just trying to figure out how to use this sheet of paper, and I like it because it's really colorful, and that photo itself has some of those colors and some oranges and some red and that piece of corn there. So the yellow paper that you can see now that looks kind of like the sun is from Amy Tangerine Cut and Paste, and it's called Envelope. I believe it's because there are envelopes on the back of it. And I'm going to cover up that circle. I have used that circle paper on something else in another layout, so I don't feel so bad about doing that, of cutting that up, because like I said, it's already been used once in my scrapbook. Actually, I think I've used that paper twice. I've used the back of that paper as well too. So I must have had a lot of sheets of this. The paper with all the borders, the horizontal borders there, is from Rise and Shine. It's called the Kylie paper. That's K-Y-L-I-E. Rise and Shine, those papers all have female names. And then I have that bright pink paper there that says Good Times on it, that pink grid paper. It's called Lily. And I'm trying to decide, I want a border or some sort of mat between the photo and that striped paper because it's so busy. And trying to just decide how I'm going to cut this. And I like the fact that it says Good Times on there because I am on a long weekend here with this friend and she's making this dish, so we were having a good time. All right, so I kind of have where I want to do that. I'm going to cover up the edge of that banner, which is fine, because that just, it would be a little bit confusing, I guess, because I've got, that to leave the edges of that banner. And there is that wood veneer circle. So that wood circle is from Amy Tangerine Rise and Shine as well. It's the circle tags, and that is the absolute last one I have. I was so glad to use those up. They've been sitting in my stash for a while, and I'm just glad that they are finally, the last one is finally on a layout. All right, and as I'm looking at this to narrate this for you, I realized I never journaled on the journaling card. I used to journal all the time on camera, and sometimes now I'm not because I want to think about what I'm saying. So when I'm done with this, I'm going to have to go get my pen and get that done so that it's not left undone. I am inking the edges of all of these papers with my Jenny Boland fountain pen ink. It's just going to help them stand off of the page and give them a shadow just because the papers are so busy. Now I'm looking for some kind of journaling element from all of my Amy Tangerine pieces that I have here. And I find this XOXO journaling card here. That came from the +1 collection from the Soulmate paper, which is the cut apart paper. And I kind of play a little bit with using this keeper paper. I think that's Rise and Shine, but I'm going to decide not to do that eventually. Just kind of looking at my options here. I have a lot of cut aparts from her. That's what happens when you get collections with lots of cut aparts and don't use them all up. So I'm going back and forth about what I like. And the orange was not exactly right for this, so I decided on the XOXO because it's black and white, and I think that also kind of gives your eye a place to rest with all the busyness there, that it's just the black and white there. And I'm just making sure there's a little bit of a border on both sides here. And I forgot to look up the date, so I'm peeling my photo back as I often have to do. And I'm looking at what other kinds of things, because I want to add more circles or something in that die cut there. And I've got the balloons there, which are not exactly appropriate for this layout. I could have used them because, you know, you can certainly use random embellishments, but I just didn't like how random they were. And I keep all of my die cuts in these Cropper Hopper 4x6 photo sleeves, and then I put them in a wicker basket, and they're labeled with the vendor on it. And I keep them by collection until I've used up most of the collection, and then I just put them in a sort of miscellaneous one, usually within the vendor. So now I have that circle there. That is from the Amy Tangerine Stitch Collection die cuts, and it says happiness is homemade, which is appropriate because my friend was making this homemade meal for us. And so I like the way that's all placed. I'm thinking that the circles probably need another circle. And so I go to my Dear Lizzie Fine and Dandy chipboard sheet here. And the chipboard sheet is called Darling Details, and it's a Thickers sheet. So I had tried one, but then I found this other one that said hello, which for me, hello is kind of generic, whatever it is. So it's hello, the meal that we're eating here, or hello, we're having a good time. All right, and I did think about using that little yellow heart up by the these circles, but that doesn't work. I am going to use it. I'm just not going to use it where it is now either. And I'm going to end up taking that wonderful off as well too. Kind of toying with what else can I use. I want something towards the top because there's a lot of weight at the bottom here. But the pink in that wonderful chipboard is just, I'm not liking it. And then I find this banner and it says some things take time. And I love that sentiment because it does take a little bit of time to make these. Or to make this dish. Okay, so now I like the arrangement of things here, so I'm going to start gluing down the rest of the paper and the journaling card. And I'll add some ATG to the back of this chipboard just because then I know it's going to stay. I like the fact that the chipboard is adding a different texture in here. I have a couple of different textures because I have the paper and the chipboard and the wood. I'm going to add an enamel heart at one point here, and I'm going back and I'm inking the edges of that die cut there. It just, the extra texture just is more interesting to look at. It gives you something a little bit more interesting on the layout. And now, because I have that chipboard there, I'm going to have to put that wood piece up on something because it won't sit properly otherwise. So I just grabbed my foam tape. And I like the way that looks. So I'm going to put that down. All right, and again, further gluing things down here. And then I decided I want another, like some more texture here. So I saw that gray heart, and I believe it was the last one left on that sheet of Amy Tangerine enamel hearts, and they're from the Finders Keepers collection. So I just grabbed that. I'm almost done with those hearts, so that's awesome. Another thing used up, because gosh knows I have enough stash. And I am thinking about my title and where that's going to go because it's very busy, and I have something at the top of this block, so the title won't sit at the top of the block. Now I could call it Some Things Take Time or Good Times, but I'm going to come up with another title, and the name of this dish is Frogmore Stew. So I'm going to call it Frogmore Stew, and so I'm looking at using my letter stickers from Ellie Studio. And first I think about using those aqua stickers, but I don't like how they look against the pink paper there. So I thought I remembered that I had, I was trying to remember what other colors I had, so I tried yellow, which I end up not caring for either. And then I saw these black ones and I thought, oh, I think I'm going to like the black better. And I'm just checking. I've used quite a few of them, so I was just checking to make sure that I could actually make the word. Because I've used all my M's up, so I'm going to have to turn a W upside down, which is fine. So I abandoned the idea of doing the yellow letter stickers and decide to go with the black. And now I'll just spell the word backwards. That's easy here. The one thing is as I'm looking at this, I know that I'm not going to be able to fit the word stew here because Frogmore is fairly long. So the way my friend makes this is she really basically boils corn and shrimp and potatoes and onions. Sometimes she'll put sausage in here as well. This particular time she didn't. But it is a starch fest, I will say that, but it's really, really good. And she'll usually make it at least once when we go on our little weekend getaways together, which we do a couple times a year. All right, so I just have to get these letters down since you're not going to see any journaling. And like I said, that will be my next project as soon as I finish this narration. I do have a still shot at the end of this and a detail shot, or a couple of detail shots of this layout as well. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you are all well. Take care. Bye.